Welcome and good morning. You are tuning into Literature Today. I'm your host, Jasmine, broadcasting to you live from Whitby, Ontario. It is Wednesday, January 14th, and today on the show, we will be analyzing passages from the famous books, Macbeth and the Great Gatsby. To do this, I would like to welcome Shakespearean expert La-Tavia Knowles. Welcome, La-Tavia.
Hello, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, tell me about Macbeth.
In Shakespeare's Macbeth, the play takes place during the Elizabethan era. The main character Macbeth was the average man during his time period. He was a warrior who was brave and loyal to his king, King Duncan. However, with the prophecies he receives from the witches and the pressure from his wife, Lady Macbeth, Macbeth is consumed with greed and jealousy, which leads to his downfall as he goes for his dream to confirm his manhood.
Thank you. So tell me, La-Tavia, how has manhood played a major role in this play? Do you have any examples of Macbeth receiving pressure from his peers to be this so-called man?
In Shakespeare's play, Lady Macbeth pressures him by questioning his manhood. After receiving a letter from Macbeth that states he has achieved the first two of three prophecies, they a plotter and a phalanx, Lady Macbeth encourages her husband to commit Duncan's murder, as she says, "When you durst do it, then you are a man. Be so much more than a man. How tender it is to love the babe that milks me. I would, while with smiling my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the veins out, had I sworn so, as you have done to this." This is from Act 1, Scene 7. Macbeth determines his manhood by the way people see him. Lady Macbeth depicts him as a weakling who is unable to strive for his goals.
Great analysis, La-Tavia. Thank you for that. Now, let's move on to The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The story takes place in the 1920s and follows the life of Jay Gatsby, a man who appears to have it all but is missing the love of his life, Daisy Buchanan, and Gatsby's struggle to attain the all-American dream.
So, Jasmine, can you define this American dream that Gatsby so much seeked?
Well, La-Tavia, the American dream is one of wealth, superiority, materialism, and relation with a superficial housewife. As Gatsby grew up as a poor boy in Long Island, he became determined to achieve a better life for his family. However, during this quest for success, Gatsby falls in love with a girl named Daisy Buchanan and begins to desire more than just a better life, but instead strives for the all-American dream in an attempt to win over his true love, a materialistic girl, in a society that only encourages women to marry wealthy men.
Do you have any examples of Gatsby's attempt to achieve this American dream?
I sure do, La-Tavia. To cater to the wealth aspect of the American dream, Gatsby began to bootleg, also known as illegally sell, alcohol in a time of prohibition, and he also began to invest in the bonds business. For the superficial housewife aspect of the dream, he became infatuated with Daisy Buchanan, so much so that he bought a palace across the lake from the mansion that Daisy lives in with her husband, Tom Buchanan.
Did Gatsby receive pressure from society to achieve this dream?
Oh yes, La-Tavia. In fact, the entire society in the 1920s was strongly based around wealth, because in that time period, people would see your personal value as an equivalent to your monetary value. Gatsby being in love with Daisy, he knew this, and also knew that the only way that he would be able to be with her was if he became wealthy. We see this in the story when Daisy, Gatsby, and Tom are spending an afternoon in a hotel, and tension boils between Gatsby and Tom over Daisy. Gatsby begins to yell, "Your wife doesn't love you. She never loved you. She loves me. She never loved you, do you hear? She only married you because I was poor and she was tired of waiting for me. It was a terrible mistake, but in her heart, she never loved you, and she only loved me." This is from page 24 of The Great Gatsby. We are able to see how much a man's wealth affects his manhood and the society. Daisy was supposedly waiting for Gatsby to become richer before she would even consider marrying him. As she got impatient, she left Gatsby for a man who was full of wealth and gluttony. It is much clearer that the only thing that made a man in this time period was a full bank account, as Daisy decided to marry the rich abuser Tom Buchanan over her poor soulmate Jay Gatsby.
Great job, Jasmine. Now let's compare the two. Gatsby and Beth are both striving for the dream of superiority. Gatsby's dream is to bring wealth, and Macbeth is for kingship.
Yes, La-Tavia. Also, they are both ambitious men. They both did whatever they could to ensure the fulfillment of their dreams, despite any immorality that the deeds included. Macbeth murdered to fulfill his dream, and Gatsby bootlegged and invested in illegal bonds to fulfill his.
I agree, Jasmine. And while they both tried to achieve these dreams, they both allowed themselves to live on an illusion. Gatsby's illusion was believing that he could repeat the past, and that his relationship with Daisy would forever stay. Macbeth's illusion was he believing to commit several crimes and he would never face consequences of them, living in this false dream that would lead to the downfall.
Yes, after murdering many people, Macbeth's reality caught up with him as he was executed by a loyal warrior named Macduff. Gatsby, allowing himself to be blamed for the death of Myrtle so he could protect his dream of Daisy, led him to be murdered by Wilson, the husband of Myrtle. Macbeth and Gatsby are both killed by their dreams.
Very unfortunate. Now let's move on to the differences. Although both of their dreams ultimately were based on becoming superior, both men strive for different outcomes. Gatsby despised his lies of poverty and went after the American dream as a way to give himself and his family a better life. Macbeth, on the other hand, was striving to be the greatest in Scotland, which is a dream for the good, whereas Gatsby's dream was of self-improvement.
So the moral of this discussion is that Shakespeare's play Macbeth and F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby exploit the desire to be superior in society, as Macbeth and Gatsby both strive for a perfect manhood and are ultimately led to their deaths. Thank you, La-Tavia, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jasmine. It was great.
This is Jasmine for Literature Today. Thank you all for listening to this podcast. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for our segment that will be comparing The Lord of the Flies by Wilson Golding with the book 1984 by George Orwell. Good day, good reading, and see you tomorrow.